Hello, Rebellious Gem here. I hope that you are having a fabulous day. If you have found yourself here, then I just want to thank you. That means that you have some interest in seeing this update that I wanted to provide on my business and my website. So in case you're not familiar, December 8th, and today's actually December 15th, so I'm a week late with this video, but December 8th actually made 8 months since I left my corporate job, and it made exactly 4 months since I launched my website. I officially launched my website on August the 8th. My website is The Rebellious Gem. I do offer spiritual items, spiritual tools for anyone who's on this journey that wants to find whatever it is that they may need to ascend, to advance. I'm also really passionate about this blog, this YouTube channel, a blog that I have on my website where I discuss different spiritual subjects. So this is what I wanted to do. And so that was the business that I started back on August the 8th. So I just wanted to provide a little bit of an update on that in case you were interested. So 6 things that I've learned, hopefully they're helpful to you. Number 1 is social media is king. I really underestimated that going into this business. I kind of wasn't sure of what I was going to do. I wasn't sure, I really honestly just thought that I was going to create this Instagram channel. The few followers, I might have had maybe 100 on my personal page, I thought maybe would help promote, and eventually the word would get out there. I did not think that social media was going to be anywhere near as involved as it was going to be. It wasn't until I was about 2 months post launching my website that I found a post on Instagram that said, starting a business is 10% fine tuning your idea, 20% getting your products together, getting your business together, and your website, 20% your paperwork, your LLC, all of that type of stuff, getting that out of the way, and 50% of starting a business is social media. I really wish in hindsight that I would have saw that Instagram post like 2 or 3 months prior to launching my business, because I would have definitely approached my strategy completely differently. I totally underestimated social media. I didn't realize that I would need to be posting to like Instagram and Facebook at least 3 posts a day. I would need to be posting on a story and trying to create reels, and then somebody, Pinterest actually reached out to me and wanted me to advertise on Pinterest. Well, I guess they reach out to a lot of businesses, right? So, but they reached out, so I started advertising on Pinterest. And so of course, all of those platforms, the content size is different. Instagram is square, where Facebook is sized differently, Pinterest is sized differently. So I just completely underestimated how much time it was going to take to like plan that content, visually put it together, resize it for all of the different platforms. Really think about my messaging and how I was going to convey that message. Like all of that takes so much time and effort. And that doesn't even count, your advertising and your marketing budget that you have to have, depending on everybody's working with a budget, right? Every company's working with a budget, but depending on your budget, you have to decide which social media platforms you're going to use, how you're going to allocate that budget. It's a lot. It's definitely a lot. And I totally underestimated it going into this business. So like I said, my point number 1 is social media is king. If you happen to be new or thinking about going into business, I definitely recommend going into it with a from looking at it from the lens of social media first. You need to think about what your messaging is going to be, your colors, your aesthetic, who's going to manage, if you're going to be the one managing all of that social media content, what platform you're going to be using to schedule it. It's a lot. So like I said, social media is king. I can't stress it enough. We'll move on to number 2. Number 2 is lead with your passion. I definitely lost sight of that a little bit. This is really why I got into this business to begin with. I wanted to do something that I was passionate about. However, when you're going through the trials and the tribulations and the confusion that's inevitably going to come when you're starting a business, your passion is what is going to get you through. And I remember, back in 2019, the end of 2018, actually, when I was creating my 2019 vision board, for whatever reason, I put a lot of things on that vision board, but for whatever reason, I put 100 million views on it at the time. And I wasn't even YouTube views, and I wasn't even really thinking YouTube at the time. So it was kind of like, it threw me off. I kind of just went with my spirit. I didn't question it. But in the back of my mind, I was kind of like, is this a fluke? Like, why would I even put this on my vision board? Because it wasn't really something that I was thinking about at the time. If you've caught, one of my earlier blogs, I talk about where, I was really afraid to be on camera. I didn't like how I look. I was very insecure. I dealt with a lot of insecurities over my life. So I really didn't think that that was something that I was actually going to do. However, you know, when I started this business, like I said, I knew I wanted to do something that I was passionate about. I'm very passionate about spiritual subjects. I can talk astrology, numerology, all of those things all day, every day. And so this is the avenue that I chose. However, you know, during those times where I was like really, really confused, especially when, you know, I started feeling like this being on camera was what I needed to do for this business and to advance my business forward, all of those insecurities crept up. It was my passion that actually led me forward because I knew this is what I wanted to do. And, you know, when those times get dark, when you're questioning yourself, when you're questioning your decisions, you know, whatever the situation may be, if you're leading with your passion, that's going to lead you forward. That's going to, you know, cradle you when you need to be hugged. Your passion is what's going to help you move forward. So definitely, number 2, lead with your passion. Number 3, I have some notes down there. Start. You will never be perfect. I think that was something that I kind of struggled with at the beginning too. It took me like 2 or 3 months before I actually launched the business because I was so afraid of it not being perfect, the colors not being right, the fonts are like so many different things that you're thinking about. Is the product gonna be right? Are people gonna like it? And you just kind of have to remember that if you're leading with your passion, you know, your audience is going to be drawn to you. Whoever was meant to receive your content is going to be drawn to you. It's never going to be perfect. You can use those, whatever things that creep up that keep you from starting, you know, those insecurities, you can use that to stop you, or you can use that to propel you forward. It's never going to be perfect. So just start. Like, I cannot stress it enough. Start. You know, every company develops, every person develops. You start somewhere and you keep working at it. You keep working at it until you get better. Nobody's ever perfect. Michael Jordan wasn't perfect. You know, everybody has to start somewhere. So just start. Number 4, don't be afraid to pivot. That's what it was. Number 4, don't be afraid to pivot. I have to thank a really, really good friend of mine for this advice. You know, I go to her constantly. She's starting a business as well. So we're always bouncing off of each other and supporting each other. And one day I was just on her shoulder, you know, boo-hooing, not literally, but, you know, just talking about all of the things that were stressing me out. And she was the one who told me, I think she said it was a Phil Knight book. I could be wrong, but I think it was the Phil Knight who started Nike, that said, you can't be afraid to pivot. And if you think about that, you know, look at all of your celebrities, look at your biggest brands, your biggest labels, those that have been around decades, always reinvent themselves. You know, you can't be afraid to pivot. You have to go with what the times are, you know, giving you. You have to go with whatever the styles may be, whatever it is. You cannot be afraid to pivot. Excuse me. Even if you're, you know, in a spot where you may have been doing things one way and you've been doing it that way and doing it that way and doing it that way, and it's not working out, you kind of have to sit back, reevaluate your strategy. And if your spirit is telling you to move differently, never be afraid to pivot. You know, that's one of the biggest things that I can say. This thing has evolved multiple times since I started it. It's just because, you know, as you learn new things, you implement new things, you can't be afraid to pivot. You can't be afraid to show your progress to the world. Again, going back to number 3, it's never going to be perfect. You're always going to be evolving. So pivot when necessary. Number 5, you will become a videographer. If you're confused at all, go back to number 1. You will become a videographer. Like that, there's no way around that. Now, if you're younger than me, I'm in my 40s. If you're younger than me and you kind of grew up with social media, this probably isn't a big deal to you. But if you're going into business around my age or maybe even older, I mean, you cannot underestimate this. I was never into social media. I never really liked, like I said in the earlier blog, I never liked pictures. I never liked videos, so I rarely ever posted. I never created that kind of content. Rarely created that kind of content, never used filters or tried to aesthetically create content, basically, even in my personal life. So to me, I was lost when I first started into business and starting to create that content. So there's just no way to get around that. You're going to have to become proficient in photos, videos, editing, lighting, video apps or editing apps, you know, working your camera, all of the effects and things. And please don't judge my video content. I haven't gotten that far yet, so it's definitely not perfect. But I'm just putting it out there that you definitely have to become proficient in that, especially if you offer products, pictures, lighting, all of that thing. You will definitely become a videographer no matter what it is that you decide to do, because this is the way we're going. This is, especially if you're wanting to get into the metaverse, like everything is becoming more technical. Look at TikTok, you know, with the way that they've structured videos. Now every other platform is wanting to copy TikTok because this is the way that things are going. Like content is going to no longer still images. Everything is video, and it's going to be short video at that. You have to learn how to create things quickly, convey messages quickly, and put that together visually in a way that's compelling and wants to attract an audience, basically. And the last thing that I learned is that you have to trust. Like, no matter what it is, I do believe there are spiritual truths in every religion, no matter what religion it is that you practice, whether that's, you know, the Islamic religion or Christianity or Buddhism, whatever religion it is that you practice, everybody has to learn how to trust. So whatever it is that you believe in, you definitely have to lean into that. That's what's going to carry you forward. You know, if you're leaning into that trust and really truly leading with your passion, you know, I believe all humans are here to create and to add to the world. So if you're leading with your passion, if you're leading with what you're creating and what you're wanting to give and what you want to offer to the world, you know, for the betterment of all, then you can't go wrong. So you just have to trust in that, trust in your intuition, trust in what your spirit is telling you, how your spirit is leading you, how your God is guiding you, and just trust in that, because there will be moments where you'll be lost, you will be confused. You know, you can seek out all the advice that you want to seek. My dog just came and put her face right on my knee. You can seek out all the advice that you want to seek, but you still have to ultimately make the decision on your own, and you're still responsible for whatever decision that you make. So you have to trust in yourself, trust in that process. Those are the 6 things that I've learned. So, and I can't say that I've learned much. I've been in business, like I said, 4 months. So that's the little bit of information that I learned. I trust that the audience that was intended to receive this content will see it. And that's all that I have for you today. Take care, Rebellious Gem.